Okay. Welcome to the channel, podcast primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dude Cespedes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What's up, man?
I'm feeling all right, buddy. And I got to say, until the tenor of that intro, I didn't realize you would be a little down after the result, even knowing that you're an Orlando Pride supporter, because you are such an intrepid, impartial journalist, getting facts, talking to the players and the management over there, that I forgot about your fandom. Your journalism was so on point yesterday.
You know, you go into it feeling like you're going to be objective, just kind of like very facts-based, very data-driven. But, once you get in there and, everybody's hooting and hollering, the press box is a little loosey-goosey down here in Orlando. So it was a great matchup. Obviously it means a lot, and then it also doesn't mean that much. A little bit of a disappointment, but a great football match, I would say. Didn't feel like a preseason match. For sure from the Washington side.
Yeah, I hear that. So it's not a preseason match. A trophy was handed out. I'm feeling pretty all right. And you should be too, because obviously, like you said, it means a lot, but it doesn't mean that much. Just like these beers. They mean a lot because it's nice to have one. But, you can go without when you need. But if we're talking about football, why would we go without them? Cheers to you. Cheers to the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, cheers to the spirit. They got it done. Cheers to Yona. Held his feet to the fire a couple different times over the last couple days, but he's a toughie. He came through just fine. So cheers to the football.
Absolutely. Seems like that guy kind of knows what he's doing. We can maybe talk about that later, but turns out that dude knows a lot about football.
Yeah, definitely. I asked him a couple of questions over the last couple of days, one specifically last night, which he gave me a very illuminating answer about with regards to second half adjustments. I had to listen to it maybe 14 or 15 times to really wrap my head around everything we're saying. And at home, if you want to watch it, go check out our YouTube page, because we threw those up on YouTube as well. Got a lot of great content from the post-match presser.
100%. And you know what? I'm actually glad you said that, because I also watched it at least a dozen times to try to pick up all the technical nuggets that he was giving you in that answer. So I know all our pals who enjoy this program typically like to talk about the tactical side of football. So Geraldes gave Dino a really sharp answer with it felt like 5 different things in the span of 90 to 110 seconds. I thought, all I got to do is learn as much about football as Yona Geraldes, and perhaps I'll be better at this show.
Yeah, good luck. We won't hold our breath. You're doing just fine at this show.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Where do you want to get started with this one?
All right. So obviously, Washington Spirit defeated Orlando Pride 4-2 on penalties to win the 2025 Challenge Cup and lift the first trophy of the season. I thought the match had a lot of the qualities you'd expect from the first contest of the year, but play really picked up in the second half. But before we even get there, as I alluded to, you were in the building. Can you please describe to me, because I was very jealous of this, what were the vibes like? What was the atmosphere before the match and as the match got started?
So the vibes were pretty positive, I would say. There was a little moaning and groaning when you see that Trinity Rodman's not playing. No. She was dressed though.
Yep.
Ule Sarr not in the lineup. So it kind of did take the stance of like a preseason feel early. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah.
Right around the 50-minute mark, the media guys in the room handed out the MVP voting sheets, and at that point it was 1-0. Orlando looked fully in control of the match. I mean, not for us to fill out, but just to kind of have on our seats and stuff.
Sure.
But at that point, there was a lot of chatter about, okay, well, who is it? And I'm going through my head. I fell into the same trap. I'm like, all right, well, okay, who had a good game? All right, Angelina's been playing well. Ali Watt, I thought she's been surprising. She was going right at Casey Kruger. I thought she had a really good game. And then obviously earns the free kick. Yeah. That becomes the half a goal early. Some people were talking about Anna Morehouse. So, the vibes were I don't want to say not locked in, but we were not as locked in up in the press box as the Washington Spirit were down on the field.
It had to be a preseason feel somewhere in that stadium. So, maybe in the beginning of the match for the players, it's preseason for us to, cut the media some slack a little bit. One of my kind of early takeaways was okay, well, we're getting some real physical play early, which is usually a sign of maybe the timing is off a little bit on some of the challenges. The NWSL officiating sure is back. That appeared to be in mid-season form. I think we'll talk about that in a couple different spots in this match. I thought early the Pride were able to kind of find some joy. They were playing long passes. They were finding some pockets in between the defenders and the midfielders. And obviously, just Banda over the top remains terrifying for all defenses all over the world any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jonah, in his answer to my question, talked about the importance of keeping two on Banda,
Yep.
like at all times. And I think, Tara McKeown, she played really great.
Yeah.
Esme Morgan played really great. Banda didn't really have a ton of room. Like a lot of times last year, Banda would kind of like earn position, body, 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 and then the ball would come over to the top, and then she could spin either way,
Right.
and then she would spin and you were cooked. In this one, they had the body on Banda, and then somebody was right there. So it's like, all right, even if you spin off or you kind of like get a little head of steam, there's really somebody right there, and then a third defender not too far off. So they were pretty committed to not letting Banda beat them. When you look at the stats, Banda only has 21 touches in 82 minutes. That's one touch every 4 minutes. For maybe the best player, but maybe the best player in the league. I'm not going to be the best player in the world for sure. Definitely from an attacking standpoint. So to be able to keep Banda under those tight wraps, I thought was really impressive from Washington defense.
Yeah, it's a great point on doubling Banda. I have in my notes here. It was right before the half. There was one of those exact moments where Banda was really getting her positioning on McKeown. The ball goes over the top. She makes like a really clever kind of spin move to get around McKeown and just flies by her. But credit to McKeown, who was able to recover and get back. It was like 1-on-5 Banda on the entire Spirit defense. Mm-hmm. But McKeown still got back there and was able to kind of clear it out and get rid of the threat. I mean, I guess I'm forcing us to bounce around a little bit, but it seemed like Washington came prepared to, like you said, always have two on Banda, but always just have some kind of backstop there to stop that counterattack that Orlando can just slice you up with.
Yeah, 100%. They played very, very responsible football.
Yeah.
And, I was close to asking Seb Hines about this, but I didn't really want to like take it to the personnel standpoint. It was really more a question that was knocking around in my head. I was like, this is not really appropriate to kind of ask Seb about after the match. But I thought Adriana moving on, we joked about, okay, she's getting her bag and, we definitely enjoyed watching her. I think a player like that was really, really missing yesterday.
Yeah.
A player that could like out in space, just cause trouble, like away from the play, away from like the run of play, somebody that could just come through the back door, through the side door and provide the spectacular.
Yeah.
So, obviously those minutes, at least last night, were taken up by, the Ali Watt, Julie Doyle, really good players, really solid players. Summer Yates gets in the game, but we really were missing that other counterpunch once Benda got shut down. So I found myself thinking a lot about Adriana last night. And thinking, okay, like, does this team need to make a move to figure out, okay, how can we get another curveball into the mix to kind of keep defenses on their heels?
It's a great point. And so I will share for you, from my perspective, watching the broadcast, our guy, Mike Watts, on the call for Amazon Prime, joined by the absolute legend, Double L, Lori Lindsay. When Ali Lemos came onto the pitch, Lori Lindsay was quick to mention that Orlando Pride is really looking for a leap from her in her second season with the club. So she is a midfielder who can offer some things. Now, are there a lot of players that I would expect Orlando Pride to be bringing off the bench who's going to offer what Adriano's able to offer? No, because that would be unrealistic. That would be unfair to especially a young player like Lemos. But if you can get some kind of facsimile of that, I think you might be right. It's going to bear monitoring throughout the season. Can they replace that?
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely something that we're going to be tracking. And I think, you asked about the vibes pregame. The vibes postgame were just kind of like business as usual from the Orlando standpoint. We're like, okay, well, we lost on penalties, kind of a disappointment, but they led a good chunk of the match. They, they definitely won the XG battle.
Yep.
More shots on target, more shots from inside the box, about 35 more passes in the final third, more accurate from a passing standpoint. And a lot of the football stats, Orlando kind of, I think, was in control most of the match. If you go to my boxing scoring, Orlando edged them out, but the Spirit definitely won the last couple rounds there for sure.
Nice.
A couple stats that I love, and I love these. Fouls, 18-12 for the Spirit. Yellow cards, 2-0, also to the Spirit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you talk about the chippiness, it definitely felt one-way chippy, from my vantage point in the press box. It felt like Washington was hungry. They were physical. They were going to make you feel them. Even 17-year-old Chloe Ricketts was out there just kind of mixing it up. Shout out to her who was really balling. I mean, I think it definitely left an impression on me after that performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say like a couple of the ones that I noted. Haley McCutcheon had a little bit of a questionable one for your pride. Balls clearly going out over the end line. Neither her or Hershfelt were going to get there. And McCutcheon had a little something for Hershfelt as the ball was going out of bounds. I thought that was a little questionable, but
Yeah, I
that's
didn't see that
football.
one.
Didn't notice that one.
Nothing. That was in my notes. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, didn't make it in. On the Chloe Ricketts foul, here's what I have directly from my notes in real time. Bad challenge from Ricketts on Sams. It has to be a yellow card. Come on, ref. Let's understand how the fucking game works. And this is in the 52nd minute. And then for some reason, I feel the need to justify this to myself in my notes. I don't want to be the guy asking for yellow cards. Don't put me in that position. Just do your job and give a yellow card for that outrageous challenge. Like, that was, I understand what Ricketts was trying to do. That was way late, way reckless. Has to be a yellow card.
The refs definitely in preseason form. I think they missed quite a bit. And even when you think about the Narumi Mura free kick that she earns
Soft.
against an Angelina challenge. I mean, Angelina, I think Lori Lindsay mentioned it because I did catch some of the highlights.
Oh, nice.
Angelina was there. Like,
Yeah.
She's body, she's in position. Mura just swings her leg into the back of Angelina's leg that's already there, and then just kind of does the flip and roll. Credit to her is a smart play from Mura. Once you see that the refs are, having a little bit of a wobbly performance. And then the Lacey Santos goal was, when she steps up to that one, it was really awesome because we got both goals on the press box side because Orlando scores in the first, Washington scores in the second. So press box is a little tucked into the corner of the stadium. But we got to see both with a great vantage point. And just watching Santos, who I thought was the best player maybe from both teams in the match. And I'd be interested. I want to hit you with the question because it's always different when you're watching it there versus the telecast. But I thought Santos was incredible. And I'm just like, oh my God, 70th minute from that position with, time to take some breaths. Like, this is like the worst player, to be staring at and just hoping that some defensively kind of happens. But she stuck it. An incredible free kick. And I wasn't super surprised.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought she was the best player on the field. Also, you could obviously make a pretty good argument. Aubrey Kingsbury had some good moments for spirit and goal. But yeah, absolutely perfect free kick. You know how I think we both feel about Morehouse. I think she should be the starting keeper for England. I think she's probably the best keeper in the NWSL. She just had no chance at it. It just upper 90. It curves in there. Everything about the free kick was perfect. I did think the call was a little soft, but that's kind of just how football works sometimes. The call to initiate the free kick, like you mentioned. But yeah, even when Orlando Pride kind of got off to that quick start, there was a moment from Lacey Santos in the 9th minute where you could tell she had her eye on goal from the opening whistle, and she hit a shot from the left wing that went just wide. I do want to tell a quick anecdote from that. I'm curious if you picked it up from the press box. So Santos takes the shot in the 9th minute. It goes wide. Morehouse, speaking of what a great goalkeeper she is, she dives to protect the broad side of the goal, the open side of the goal, the far side of the goal. Pardon me. But she knows Morehouse is smart enough and instinctive enough to know how far to dive, knows that she's covering the goal, but then lets the ball go out for a goal kick. Mm-hmm. Then we heard very clearly on the Amazon Prime broadcast, some dude in the stands screams, "Whose house?" And then the rest of the crowd answers, as you might expect, Morehouse. And so I don't know if you could hear that, but that brought me great joy. And I don't know if it's the Orlando Pride Supporters Club, the Black Swans Drinking Club, but I started to do some research into this. Not really any real research, but I just kind of started looking at the Black Swans Drinking Club website as a supporters group for Orlando Pride. And I got to tell you, we got to figure out a way to get some representative from this supporters group on the show. They look extremely badass. Everything about their website is cool. Their mission is cool. Their chants are cool. So, hopefully, if anybody out there, maybe Ad Astra knows somebody, any of our Orlando Pride pals, let us know how you can connect us to the Black Swans Drinking Club because they seem cool.
Love that. Yeah, full cosign from me. I'll do a little bit of research on my end too. We'll see if we could piece this puzzle together and figure out how to make it happen. Little side note too, we got a we got a mention on Blue Sky from the newest ITC Hall of Famer, Carol Thomas, who was very appreciative of the honor, said she enjoyed the episode.
No way. I didn't see that yet. Let's
Yeah,
go.
go check that out. All right, back to the silliness. Well, I guess let me ask you. So, from my vantage point, I thought Orlando was in control of almost all the first half. The first 10 minutes, I thought were pretty impressive for the Spirit attack, and I definitely remember that Santos chance as being for sure the best chance of the match to that point.
Sure.
But zooming out, middle of the second half, early in the second half, felt like the tide started to turn a little bit. Spirit maybe kind of looked like the better side. They definitely changed a few things. Jonah talked about closing that gap between Marta and Angelina, where Orlando was finding a lot of good positivity there.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely got that done. Banda couldn't get on track, I think, at all during the match. Is that what it was like on the telecast? Like maybe Orlando early, the Spirit, here they come. Like what was the game flow like for you? Kind of like watching.
That's certainly what it felt like. I mean, the execution on Orlando's free kick, shortly before halftime, that felt like a big, momentum boost for Orlando. Maybe not even a momentum boost. Let me backtrack on that. It was kind of like the culmination of Orlando playing well in that first half, to your point.
Yep.
Where they were kind of dictating the terms a little bit. Geraldes gave comments to Amazon Prime, like going into halftime, saying that he was disappointed with the defense, and I thought that was understandable. And from my vantage point, from the broadcast vantage point, it did seem like they just needed some more resistance, kind of in like entering the final attacking third of Orlando, like in Washington's defensive third. They just needed to just stop the ball like a little earlier.
That makes sense. And I'm just thinking back to the presser the day before the match where Yona and Kingsbury go on stage together. And, I asked about this multiple times. I was like, your guys' vibes was like super duper ice cold. Like, is that what it was like, kind of getting prepared? And then you see how chippy things get. And then obviously it goes to PKs. There's a ton going through everybody's heads during PKs, but the more locked in team wins the penalty kick shootout. So it's like, all right, maybe it's overthinking, maybe it has no correlation, but that is essentially what happened. But in the presser the day prior, it felt like every Jonah answer, every Kingsbury answer ended with, "So we'll see what happens tomorrow night." Like it was like it didn't matter what they said, like they just were like, "We'll see about tomorrow night." Like they were ready, they were like kind of fully locked in. So
that's awesome.
Wasn't surprised to see them claw their way back into the match. And then once it goes to penalties, I had the feeling that it was like, I don't necessarily, anything could happen, but Washington had all the momentum. And then you see the two misses from Orlando, Summer Yates and Ali Lemos.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fell right in line with the way that the match was tracking.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And, to be fair to Seb Hines and Orlando, which obviously we always are, we're not biased at all toward the Orlando Pride.
No.
When Benda goes off, she gets taken off in like the 70th, if I recall correctly?
82.
82. Okay. So when he brings Benda off in the 82nd minute, when the match is trending toward penalties, I'm like, okay, like it was evident on the broadcast. I don't know how clear it was. I got to imagine it was very clear in person. Chilufya, Priska Chilufya, Zambian teammate of Barbara Benda, is fucking lightning fast. Good God, she's fast.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, well, obviously you got to try to go for the goal here. But if you're not saving Benda for the PKs, you're more thinking long-term, look, I'm not going to run everybody into the ground for the Challenge Cup match. You want to win a trophy, but we have our sights set on bigger things. So I agree with you. Going into the PKs, kind of looking at who was out there, who was available, definitely seemed to favor the Spirit a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Spirit also, shorthanded, as mentioned, they're missing a couple players. They only make 2 subs. The subs they do bring on, though, Rebecca Bernal, who is high intensity and really good.
Yeah.
And McKenna Morris, just really good players to have at their disposal.
Yep.
Wanted to kind of look at a couple stats here. I thought Hal Hershfelt was awesome.
Yep.
You look at kind of her passing. She was involved in so much of the action right in the center of the park. 36 of 39, 92.3% of the passes.
Let's go.
She connected on 100% of her passes in the final third. She was just rock solid. I mean, I think when you think about Orlando on the other side, and you're like, okay, Banda, 82 minutes, 21 touches. What went wrong there? There's only so many times you can go over the top. And if that's all you have, when the defense knows what you're going to do, you become a little bit easier to defend. And I
Sure.
think we saw a little bit of that. And to have a player like Hershfelt on the other side, just kind of dominating the midfield, distributing, winning balls back, just kind of like being in the right place, serving as an outlet for other players. You just kind of really saw Hershfelt's impact in this one.
No doubt. I totally agree with you. Hershfelt was fantastic. Lori Lindsay mentioned it on the broadcast. We talked about it weeks ago when the acquisition was made. Hal Hershfelt and Narumi Mura, that's a very, very good combination. And if this first match is any indication, they're going to play really well with each other. It appears that their styles seem to complement each other perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, Mira's so good, so smart too.
Yeah.
So good on the ball, very crafty. They fit like a glove, those two for sure. And then when you think about, okay, no Rodman, no Ule Sar, no Kawasi still on the team?
Yeah.
No Kawasi. Like, I mean, we've got our NWSL preview coming up this week, so I'm not really quite ready to make a prediction, but this team at full strength with that manager, I mean, pretty terrifying.
Yeah, they have to be. And Mike Watts mentioned on the broadcast that Croy Bethune is trending toward coming back soon.
I forgot to mention Bethune.
Well, I'm saying well, that's the thing is that she kind of disappeared off the radar, and if I remember, I don't want to totally misquote Mike, but he'll yell at me over email if I do. Obviously, Mike's watching. What's up, Mike? I think he mentioned that there was some discussion that she might even dress for this match. So she appears to be trending toward coming back relatively soon. So yeah, I think they're going to be scary. I mean, we had talked about it when they made the Narumi acquisition. They're going to challenge for 2 more trophies as the year goes on.
That's wild. I got a chance to go down to the field to see the team lift the cup along with Michelle Kang, and then like you just like, oh my god, what a freaking genius this is! Like just pulling the strings. Like this team basically with all the names we rattled off, and I like an idiot forget Croy Bethune, maybe the most exciting young player. Kind of taking the feel of a little bit of the Barcelona West, maybe, with Michelle King trying to make that happen within the NWSL, which would be insane, but not impossible, with what they've been able to collect there, including the coach. Wanted to shout out Tara McKeown as well. I mean, defensively, kind of everything kind of starts with her. She was super sharp.
Yeah.
Involved in chippiness and the physicalness.
Oh, yeah.
Steps up, hits the last penalty kick, gets that great moment, to kind of slam the door shut in the Challenge Cup, which was very cool. And, we mentioned Hershfelt earlier. I got a chance to catch up with both Tara McKeown and Hal Hershfelt. So I want to play a little clip here. You'll hear Tara first and then Hal second. So we'll go to that here. Quick question about the vibe. So Jonah and Aubrey at the presser yesterday, the vibe was like very ice cold and like super locked in. That's what it seems like from the outside. What is it like sort of like behind closed doors in terms of the attitude going into the year?
I think we were all really excited to start the season off this way. 1 game final, like people want to play for trophies all their life. So being able to play for a trophy in 1 game and win it, I think, we were really excited coming into this game. But we like to keep a stone cold face on the outside.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah,
for sure. I think honestly, just the way that we compete day in and day out, we were kind of confident in ourselves. We were just like she said, it's literally 1 game. We just got to thug it out. It's 1 game, you win the cup, and we move on. So I think we kind of hit it with that approach, and it worked.
Thug it out. Love that.
yeah.
Thug it out.
Quote that.
Already done.
Yeah.
So quote
Amazing.
that. Quote that is 10 out of 10. Thug it out might be 13 or 14 out of 10. Unbelievable. And you don't get to hear because it's just audio. But Hal is like, thug it out with like the punching of the inside.
Wow,
the
even
palm.
better.
I was like, oh shit, let's fucking go.
That's amazing. I mean, that is A+ reporting. That's A+ vibes reporting. Like, I'm glad we talk about the Opta stats. We talk about what we saw. Obviously, Jonah gives us great tactical analysis. You can't buy that kind of vibes reporting on how these 2 players feel empowered to go out there and play their style and play a winning style of football.
Yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see the juxtaposition of like the seriousness of it to that moment. Because like, you always hear, it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, we'll enjoy this one tonight, and then tomorrow it's back to work or whatever. I think somebody might have asked about that, and from what I recall, it's an official day off tomorrow for Washington. But it was so interesting to catch him at that moment where it's like we're not really worried about the rest of the season right now. We're like just off the field, still in our kits. Like we're here just reflecting on on the positive vibes and the moment. And like, shout out to them for giving me a little bit of time and some epic quotes, I think from both of them. I think I'm going to remember both of those. Excellent punctuators from a couple of professionals.
Fantastic. It was good to talk to them too, obviously, because like you said, they both had a major impact on the match. I thought McKeown too, in typical McKeown style, she had a couple tricky spots there. Like in the first half, she's one-on-one with Marta running at the goal, and Marta's just trying to put her in the spin cycle and does a little bit, but McKeown is like really fighting to get back and try to at least cut off an angle. I mean, just her toughness. I mean, she was one of the 7 or 8, somewhere in that ballpark, Iron Women from last year's NWSL season. Like, she's got that dog in her. No fucking question about it. And it would appear that is very quickly, just from personnel decisions and just from organizational culture. Leanne Sanderson talked to us about Geraldes' just overall competitiveness. His players talk about his overall competitiveness. That feeling of, hey, we're a bunch of dogs out here. We are coming after you. I know it's a cliche. That is very obviously permeating through that roster.
Yeah. When I asked Kingsbury about, the general tenor of what it was like, she said it all starts with Jonah's competitiveness. He's an insane competitor. And I was like, no, that checks out for sure. Well, like we mentioned, congrats to the Spirit. A lot happened in this game for sure. I don't think Orlando was too crushed. They obviously wanted to win, but they've got their eyes, I think, on a little bit of a bigger picture here. And then, the other thing that I'll walk away with is the Spirit are just going to be very tough to deal with once they get to full strength. But, obviously it's football. Anything can happen. I want to shift gears just one more time because I forgot to mention this up top, but Rafaele in the lineup at center back next to Emily Sams, Kylie Danner out wide, Carrie Abello on the other side, formerly Kylie Strom.
Congratulations on the nuptials.
That Orlando defense with Rafaele back, they're somehow going to be even harder to score on, is my prediction, because they look absolutely suffocating. And to be able to keep Kylie on the field and just slide her over somewhere else, and now you've got 3 Terminators back there just shutting everything down. I mean, I wasn't surprised that the way that Washington scored was off the Santos free kick. That's probably your best bet against this Orlando defense. But yeah, again, credit to the Spirit, who won on the margins. That's what they came to do. That's what a good manager and a good approach and a good game plan can create for you. Is like, all right, when it's in the balance, those little intangibles sometimes are enough to kind of push you over the edge.
When you have Rafaele, Nadanner, and Sams out there, you are kind of running a 3 center back type of look out there. Even a Bello, I think. Let me make just quick fact check live on the show to make sure I'm not lying to myself. I think a Bello has seen time at center back too. So I mean, you're almost, Seb Hines is almost running like a Pep Guardiola type. How many center backs can I put on the field at one time and just to kind of get all those qualities out of them? I think that's going to be really interesting to watch. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention Corey Dyke was questionable for this match. She sat out, and she apparently has a thigh injury. Hopefully that's not too serious. I would think that because she was questionable, it is not too serious. So speedy recovery to the ITC Hall of Famer, our pal. But I mean, remember how she had some big moments in the final against Washington, going out there to contain the attack out on the wing. And so, getting Corey Dyke back is going to make a real difference. I don't think anybody is overreacting to this match because it would just be too silly. Even on sports social media, even in general punditry, anybody who would think, okay, now it's time to start doubting the Orlando Pride's ability to win either of the next 2 trophies, that would just be a fool's errand. This team is competing for both trophies moving forward and really for the foreseeable future. As long as Banda's on the roster, you might be lifting a trophy that season.
And again, if Orlando squeezes out a second goal or that foul that Angelina Mura mix-up doesn't get called, I mean, there's so many different ways where this game feels a lot more far apart. But then I think we would have kind of reverse engineered okay, well, no Rodman, no Bethune, no Sarr. So I agree with you that I don't think we can look at Orlando and say, okay, this necessarily means something for this season.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I think we absolutely can look at Washington and be like, this team is for real. This team is legit. They're not messing around, not even a little bit this year.
I think that's the perfect read on it. Both of these things can be true. It was a great performance from a shorthanded Washington Spirit side. It was an okay-ish performance from the reigning double holders. And we have 26 matches to play in the regular season.
Absolutely. All right, man. Quick look ahead. Later this week, we will be back with our NWSL full preview. We've done like a couple little mini previews along the way. This one probably included, but we're going to go way, way deep on all 14 teams. We're going to make some predictions. I don't know, maybe some tiers might happen. I don't know, could we squeeze a draft? I feel like I don't know, it's time to think outside the box. We got a couple days before we record that bad boy. All right, so that's coming up later this week. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think we did it, man. I mean, I'll save my VAR overhaul conversation for another show. I think we've gone long enough on this. It's just like headline version. I'm so fucking sick of VAR. Just get it out of my life. I don't like, if you're not going to massively overhaul it, I don't want it anymore. But okay, I'll relax. Sorry. I think we've done it.
I love that you're like, I'm not going to get into it, but I'm going to get into it real quick for you.
Of course. Of course.
Stu Gottsian of you. I appreciate that. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love Women's Football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking it with us every single week, especially now. NWSL is back. Let's fucking go. Like if you liked, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. If I'm lifting a trophy, I need my guy right next to me. We're lifting that trophy in tandem together. That's how we do it here at the ITC. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. You know, I wouldn't lift the trophy with anybody else. We do the hey, we do all that kind of stuff. And obviously, if we're doing that, all of our pals who rock with us, you'd be right there on the podium with us, no doubt. We appreciate you guys for checking out the show, and we will see you for the NWSL preview.